Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and the culture. This is WallBuilders Live, where we take on the hot topics of the day from a biblical, historical, and constitutional perspective. I'm Rick Green, America's Constitution coach, normally here with David and Tim Barton, but today we're going to take you out to the Pro-Family Legislators Conference, actually picking up right where we left off yesterday. So if you missed yesterday's program, it's available right now at wallbuilderslive.com. The special guest speaker is Kelly Shackleford from First Liberty, one of the most incredible legal organizations on the planet. In fact, they win case after case. They are representing so many people on religious liberty cases, including members of the military right now with this ridiculous vaccine mandate that President Biden continues to try to force on these incredibly healthy members of our military, and to think that we're going to dishonorably discharge members of the military for not getting the jab. It's just unbelievable. At any rate, that's one of the things that Kelly and First Liberty do, but they're also involved in all kinds of religious liberty cases around the country, winning, just incredible winning percentage. And Kelly is speaking at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference to update us on some of these cases, but also to give us a general view of where things are headed with the courts and what he thinks is going to happen with religious liberty over the next decade or so. You can learn more about Kelly at firstliberty.org. Let's head out to the Pro-Family Legislators Conference. We'll pick up right where we left off yesterday with Kelly Shackleford at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference.
She says first the airline wrote a response to her comment. Then they deleted it. Then they paused her work schedule. Then they called her in for a meeting. Then they fired her.
They said that by my asking the question, I was such a bad person that it merited firing me from my job. And I think that that's the hard part about it, that, like, what do people get fired for, right? Like, they get fired for being, not caring, incompetent, lazy, whatever. And mine had nothing to do with performance. It had everything to do with my character. And that's what they fired me for, that they said my character was so bad that I shouldn't work there anymore.
And the ultimate irony, what Alaska Airlines did perfectly illustrates why Lacey had questions about the so-called Equality Act.
I have the freedom to be who I want, unless apparently I work for Alaska Airlines. And then all of a sudden I no longer have the freedom to be who I am, because in order to keep my job, I now have to agree with everything that the company is saying and doing. When we are determined about things, and when we make up our mind about something, when we know that we know that we know, I think that it allows us that courage.
So I wanted you to understand what happened. The company sent out to their employees, "We love the Equality Act. We're so excited. We want you all to get behind it." The Equality Act is just a horrible piece of legislation. It strips away everybody's religious freedoms. They said, "We'd love your feedback or any questions you have." Two of their flight attendants, this is one of them, ask a question. One of them sent in and said, I've got real questions about this. I think this could hurt my church. They fired them both. So we want you to give us your feedback, unless it's Christian feedback, and then we fire you. Well, we've been looking for the right case. This is the right case to go after the woke corporation. There are federal laws against that. You can't just say, hey, we want your comments, but we're going to fire all the Christians who have comments that we don't like. That's a violation of federal law. So our goal here is not just to win the case, but to leave a mark on Alaska Airlines. It sends a message to every other corporation that you don't do this. And one of my favorite things about this case, too, is the former head of the EEOC, the top lawyer. She was under Trump, so she stepped down a couple of years ago with the new administration. When she saw the facts, she said, "Can I be an attorney on your case?" We said, "Yes, you can." So she's our lead counsel, which is great. And then the last area I tell you, just attacks on churches, on kids in schools, and all these things I'm going through, but the military. Obviously, you know about our SEAL case, but this is probably one of the most well-known cases that we're battling over right now, and it's shields of strength. So the idea, this guy, Kenny Vaughn, came up with the idea of having a scripture verse on a dog tag. So that, people in the military are scared. There's times when they really are fearful, appropriately so. To be able to look down and to read Joshua 1:9 that says, "Be strong and courageous, says the Lord, I'm with you," is really important. And, You can't go to any unit anywhere in the military and not find people that have these dog tags. But they're not allowed now. Why? Well, we don't have to guess. We got a letter from the new administration saying that they're not allowed because they have religious things on them. So you can wear anything around your neck you want, any sort of profanity, anything. The one thing you're not allowed to wear is a scripture verse. Well, we're not going to stop until everybody in the military has a right to wear these if they want to wear these. That's their right to do so. Now, some of you are like, gosh, thank you for the Bartons and everybody inviting me to hear the depressing speaker talk about all the bad cases. So let me tell you the good news. The good news is we have a method of dealing with this. We've been doing it a long time, and it works. And that is, if you were to watch the nonprofit world, legal world, you'd find, I don't care if they're left-wing or right-wing, it's the same model. Raise as much money as you can, use that money to hire as many attorneys as you can, put them in an office in D.C. or L.A. or New York, fly them around the country, cover as many cases as you can cover. That's not our model. Our model is there's all these believers who went to law school because they wanted to stand for what was right. And 30 years later, these are now the best litigators at the best law firms in the country, really in the world. And they've done honorable work for their clients, but they've never gotten to do a case for the kingdom. And we go and sit down with them and we say, look, if we give you everything you need, right? We have the top attorneys from Harvard and all these law schools that all they do is religious freedom. We got a media division. We'll back you in every way. If we give you everything you need, are you willing to give your time? And they're like, man, I've been waiting 35 years. Sign me up.
All right, friends, we got to take a quick break. Stay with us. You're listening to WallBuilders Live. You're actually listening to Kelly Shackleford speak at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference, normally for all of our legislators only, but this presentation we have permission to share with you, our WallBuilders Live listeners. Stay with us. You're listening to WallBuilders Live. Have you noticed the vacuum of leadership in America? We're looking around for leaders of principle to step up, and too often, no one is there. God is raising up a generation of young leaders with a passion for impacting the world around them. They're crying out for the mentorship and leadership training they need. Patriot Academy was created to meet that need. Patriot Academy graduates now serve in state capitals around America, in the halls of Congress, in business, in the film industry, in the pulpit, and every area of the culture. They're leading effectively and impacting the world around them. Patriot Academy is now expanding across the nation, and now's your chance to experience this life-changing week that trains champions to change the world. Visit patriotacademy.com for dates and locations. Our core program is still for young leaders 16 to 25 years old, but we also now have a citizen track for adults. So visit the website today to learn more. Help us fill the void of leadership in America. Join us in training champions to change the world at patriotacademy.com.
This is Tim Barton from WallBuilders with another moment from American history. Many today assert that religion is something private, that it has no place in the public square, and that it is incompatible with government. But the Founding Fathers believed exactly the opposite. They held that religion was absolutely necessary in order to maintain our free system of government. For example, John Adams declared, "We have no government armed with power, capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion." And signer of the Declaration, Benjamin Rush, similarly affirmed, "Without religion, there can be no virtue, and without virtue, there can be no liberty, and liberty is the object and life of all Republican governments." The Founding Fathers understood that limited government required public morality from the people, and that public morality was produced by the Christian religion. For more information about the Founding Fathers' views on religion and public life, go to wallbuilders.com.
We're back here on WallBuilders Live, jumping right back in with Kelly Shackleford at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference. Kelly is, of course, the president of First Liberty, and we have him on often and other attorneys from the First Liberty organization, but you should definitely check them out at firstliberty.org. Get on their email list, donate to them. They're doing an amazing job, firstliberty.org. Here's Kelly Shackleford at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference.
We know what's going to happen when we give them that first case. For the first time in their life, all their talent, all their gifts, all their training, everything they've ever learned is for the first time lined up with their faith and their love for their country. They've never felt that before. It's kind of unfair, but we now know we have them for the rest of their lives as one of our volunteer attorneys. And they are the big partners, and they give permission for the younger attorneys. They taste of what it's like. And so literally, if you were to go through the top 100 law firms in the country, you'd find that most of those firms don't just donate their time with us. They'll fight each other over who gets to donate their time with us. And my goal in this was to get a lot more bang for our buck. And sure enough, average case, every 10,000 we spend, we get 60,000 donated. So it's like a leveraging of God's resources at like a 6-to-1 rate. But what I didn't count on was the win-loss ratio. If you watch nonprofit legal groups, they're created to fight something big, something very formidable. And so, government, industry, something. And if they win 40% of their cases, they're pretty good. Our win rate now, 22 years in a row, every single year has been above 90%. And it's because of God's favor, but it's really because of his method, which is, we're the only ones that do litigation the way we're doing it. So if we get, well, let me put it this way. If Ford Motor Company out of Detroit, Michigan got sued in Dallas, do you think they would send their Detroit attorneys to litigate that case? No, they would not. They would get the best litigators in Dallas to do that. And so they know the judge, they know the community. So when we have a case in Montana, our attorney's from Montana, from the biggest law firm in Montana. When they go into court, they look at the judge, hey, I was in first grade with that judge, we lost a tooth together, right? The ACLU, who's flying in from New York City, they're playing an away game, okay? Now, this is the way every major corporation does their business, but no nonprofit does this. They all fly their attorneys in from some other foreign place, and they are foreign in that state. It's not how you win. But we could only do this because we are the body of Christ, and we have attorneys everywhere. We can put together the most powerful team of attorneys anywhere in the country in 30 minutes. And it's a blessing to them because they're finally getting to use their gifts for the kingdom. The clients are getting attorneys they could never pay for. Never. And the result is these wins and precedents that protect the entire body of Christ. It's exactly how things are supposed to work. And it's beautiful to watch. But so, normally I would stop now and I'd say, okay, that's it. Yeah, more cases. We're still winning 90%. All is good. But something started happening about 5 years ago. I started to notice, and I really started to say in some of the speeches, I said, I think we can change the future. And about 2 years ago, I changed because I started saying we are changing the future. Well, what do I mean? Well, when Trump, and we're nonpartisan, whoever's in office, we're going to advocate for religious freedom. And so we were planning how to advocate for religious freedom under a Hillary Clinton presidency. And then this Trump guy won. And we were like, okay, we have to reevaluate. Well, we immediately saw 132 judicial seats, federal judges. Very unusual to see that number of seats. These are lifetime appointments, each one of them maybe 30 years on the bench. And we immediately felt really called by God we got to focus on this because this is a lot greater impact than one case. I mean, one judge for 30 years. And so we went to our board and donors and we said, we needed an extra $2 million a year to just have the best vetting group in the country so that every person we're looking at, we know what they are, what their background is, where they stand, so that we can put the very best people on the courts for life who are going to stand for religious freedom and the Constitution. And you've seen the results, right? 234 judges appointed by President Trump and some of the most incredible. I wish there was a way for me to get across to you who these people are. So I put a picture just as an example, and you can start multiplying this many times over. Who's this guy with his hand up? Top of his law school class, went to work for one of the biggest law firms in the country. After about 7 years, decided he wanted to go do something more significant. So he went to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office, putting away terrorists. Won a national award for putting away terrorists. And then Eric Holder came in as the Attorney General, took him off some of that work to have him work on social justice issues. He's like, that's not why I'm here. So he left. Where did he go? He came to work at First Liberty as one of our attorneys. And at age 38, he was picked by the president to be a federal judge for the rest of his life. Okay, this guy's brilliant. He would rather die than ever turn from the Constitution. He's a strong man of faith. You'll never have to worry about what he's going to do in the next 30 years on any case. Okay? Who's swearing him in? Jim Ho, probably one of the smartest lawyers in the country, clerk for Justice Thomas, now is at the Federal Court of Appeals at the Fifth Circuit, right underneath the Supreme Court. Probably will end up on the Supreme Court. One of our most active volunteer attorneys in the country. Guy working at one of those powerful law firms in the country, Gibson, Dunn & Crutcher, making huge amounts of money, giving his time for religious freedom, and now working for $180,000 a year for the rest of his life. These are the kind of people we fill the courts with. And when that happens, it starts to change the decisions that are coming down. And so there's two religion clauses, Establishment Clause and Free Exercise Clause. There's a bad case under both of them that if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, can you get rid of those? I'd have said, not in my lifetime. They've caused great damage to religious freedom our whole lives. And I'm watching both those decisions now being imploded. I mean, it's really miraculous. I've been doing this 32 years. I never thought any of this was possible. So I'll start with the Coach Kennedy picture. I think most of you have heard about Coach Kennedy. Coach who was fired for going to a knee, say a prayer after the football game. Unfortunately for Coach Kennedy, he lives in the Ninth Circuit because San Francisco is where those cases go through. And they said coaches are not allowed to pray in public if anyone can see them. Right? That's not the law, but that's what they wanted the law to be. So we took it to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, go back down. There's some more facts we want developed. But then something really unusual happened. I mean, this is almost never happens. A concurrence was written by the 4 conservative justices. They said, by the way, we noticed that the first claim to reach us was a free speech claim, not a free exercise of religion claim. Maybe that's because of the Smith decision, which has caused so much damage to religious freedom over the last 35 years. But we haven't been asked to review that decision yet. Not subtle, right? They're ready to open up the free exercise clause again. So, incredible. That's step one. By the way, this case went back through the Ninth Circuit. They doubled down on their anti-religious rhetoric. The judge in the case, in fact, ended his decision by attacking Coach Kennedy because he said in his religion, that judge's religion, you don't pray in public. So this is an interesting thing that evidently I didn't know you had to agree with the federal judge's religion in order to be, a citizen under the First Amendment in the United States.
Our friends got to take another quick break here with Kelly Shackleford from the Pro-Family Legislators Conference speaking there to these legislators. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You're listening to WallBuilders Live.
Hey guys, we want to let you know about a new resource we have at WallBuilders called The American Story. For so many years, people have asked us to do a history book to help tell more of the story that's just not known or not told today, and we would say very providentially, in the midst of all of the new attacks coming out against America, whether it be from things like the 1619 Project that say America is evil and everything in America was built off slavery, which is certainly not true, or things like even the Black Lives Matter movement, the organization itself, not the statement Black Lives Matter, but the organization that says we're against everything that America was built on, and this is part of the Marxist ideology. There's so many things attacking America. Well, is America worth defending? Well, what is a true story of America? We actually have written and told that story, starting with Christopher Columbus, going roughly through Abraham Lincoln. We tell the story of America not as the story of a perfect nation or a perfect people, but the story of how God used these imperfect people and did great things through this nation. It's a story you want to check out. WallBuilders.com, The American Story.
Welcome back to WallBuilders Live. Let's jump right back in with Kelly Shackleford from the Pro-Family Legislators Conference.
The other thing that they said in their opinion was that one of the reasons Coach Kennedy should lose is because he was pugilistic. What does that mean? It means that after they fired him, he filed a lawsuit. I kid you not, okay? So this case is set up. There were 11 dissents written on our way to the Supreme Court. And I think they're going to take this case. We'll see. This will be a great, great, great case if they take it. But free exercise clause. Establishment clause, what does it say? Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. What does that mean? We don't want there to be a nationally established church that takes away all our freedoms. But 50 years ago, the Warren Court, liberal Warren Court, said, no, it means more than that. It means separation of church and state. It means if you're offended, you can bring a lawsuit. You can't bring lawsuits because you're offended. I mean, the only place in our whole lives that people could bring lawsuits that we've watched is if they're offended by religion. And it's not because, and so we've watched nativity scenes, Ten Commandments monuments, veterans will all come under attack. Why? Because the founders would have had any problems with it? No. Because of this case. It's by the way, the name of the case is Lemon. It's perfectly named, okay? And it's been in place for 50 years, and it's caused all this hostility to religion our whole lives. So we had the Bladensburg cross case. You see this cross. It was put up almost 100 years ago by mothers who lost their sons in World War I. And at the Court of Appeals, they said, one of the judges said, why don't you just cut the arms off the cross? That way nobody will be offended and we won't have to tear it down. So they ruled it was unconstitutional after 100 years. So we went to the Supreme Court, except instead of just saying, we want to protect this cross, we looked up, we saw Kavanaugh on the court. Kavanaugh, by the way, who donated time with us as a young attorney on religious freedom. We saw Gorsuch on religion. He's been really good on religious freedom. We said, we might be able to get rid of Lemon now. So we argued, keep the cross, but we argued even more. It's time to stop following this Lemon case, which is causing all this hostility to religion. The court ruled 7-2 in our favor, but more importantly, 5-4, they said we're not following Lemon. And so for 50 years, we've gone in this hostility to religion direction, and we just turned. And most people don't recognize it yet, but I'm telling you, everything is changing. If you look at all the lower court opinions, the presumption in the law now is religion in public and religious symbols and everything in public are presumptively constitutional. Everything has flipped from the opposite presumption. So my summary to you on this is we are just at the beginning of this, but in my opinion, every American is about to have more religious freedom than they've ever had in their lifetime. And even more so, this is something we can't say. What could you say that we could pass down to our kids that's greater than we had? This is it. Okay? I mean, we're just at the beginning. The only thing that can stop this is something really extreme, like court packing. If you don't know what court packing is, it's when you add the majority party says we're going to add 4 justices, 5 justices, whatever we need, 10 justices to the court to get to the political results we want to get to. And people think it's bad. They think if you do, look at the polling, we have tons of polling on this, but they don't understand it. They think it's bad because it's not good to jump left or right or politicize the court. It's much worse than people realize. If you do this once, your country is over. Okay? If you wonder what happened to Venezuela, I think I got a picture of theirs. They court packed. Okay? If you wonder what happened to a lot of the countries, we have this all documented on a website called supremecoup.com. This is really dangerous. And the reason is you might think you have constitutional rights, but you don't. You have whatever rights the majority party wishes you to keep because they can just add justices until they take those away, whatever it is they want to take away. So this is something we have to stop.
President Roosevelt clearly had the right to send to the United States Senate and the United States Congress a proposal to pack the court. But it was a bonehead idea.
They'll know my opinion on court packing when the election is over. Now look, I know it's a great question.
I'll put together a national commission of scholars, and I will ask them to come back to me with recommendations as to how to reform the court system.
This is a live ball.
Oh, it is a live ball.
So we will figure out a way to get something done.
Well, let's take a look and see.
Everything is on the table.
We're going to add 5, 6, 7, 10 seats to the court.
Well, I think everything's on the table.
Everything is on the table.
All of those matters will be on the table.
All options are on the table.
And as I've said, everything is on the table.
Presidents come and go. Supreme Court justices stay for generations.
All right, friends, we are out of time for today. You have been listening to Kelly Shackleford speak at the Pro-Family Legislators Conference on the issue of what's happening in the courts on religious liberty, some of the specific cases, but most importantly, the general view of where this is headed over the next decade. I think just a fantastic message and good news for us. I know there's a lot of bad news out there, but, there's always some good things happening as well, and this is one of those areas where we are having victory after victory. So Kelly's presentation, we'll get the conclusion of it tomorrow. Make sure you listen tomorrow to WallBuilders Live. You can share these programs through our website. Go to wallbuilderslive.com, grab the links, send them out to your friends and family. They need to hear this good news anyway, but they also just need to be informed of what's happening at the court level. And then make sure you learn more about Kelly and First Liberty at their website, firstliberty.org. Last thing for today, I want to encourage you to be a champion for liberty and a force multiplier. Start being the catalyst for a restoration of biblical values and constitutional principles right there in your community by hosting our Biblical Citizenship in Modern America course. You can do that at biblicalcitizens.com. It's completely free. We give it away to you for free. Your students or fellow church members or people in your family or whoever you want to have over to join you as you go through this course. They all get to sign up for free. The digital workbook is free. It's just a fantastic opportunity. And it's chock full of good information, and it will actually give you hope. That's what we're seeing happen as thousands of classes are taking place all over the nation. We now have 10,000 Constitution coaches. You can be one of them. Sign up for free today at biblicalcitizens.com. Thanks so much for listening today. You've been listening to WallBuilders Live.
We stand undivided.